Hello and good morning all. I am Monica Sharma on behalf of Indira College of Pharmacy. Welcome you all to the second day of 4 days National Online Conference on Good Pharmacy Education Practices. I am super excited to have you all here. Excited about the amazing session that we are going to have today. But before starting the session, there are few instructions for all the participants. Kindly take a note that the attendance for all the sessions is going to be monitored very closely. Feedback for today's all sessions will be posted in the last session of the day. In case of any questions regarding the talk, participants are requested to put the questions in the chat box. So now focusing on our session, let us welcome our today's esteemed guest, Dr. N.K. Jain. Professor Jain is an internationally renowned academician and researcher and a senior professor in India who superannuated in June 2014 after rendering more than 40 years of dedicated and distinguished services as a teacher and 25 years as a full professor. He started his academic career in 1973 as a lecturer in Pharmacy College at Indore. In his career, he gave his services to various colleges, not only in India, but in abroad also. He was the ex-professor, head Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Dean, Registrar, and acting Vice Chancellor of Dr. H.S. Gaur University, Sagar. Subsequent to his superannuation, Professor Jain rendered his services as director at ISF College of Pharmacy, Punjab. Professor Jain is the author of 24 celebrated books in pharmaceutical sciences, including a series on controlled and novel drug delivery system. And he has contributed over 60 chapters in national and international books. In 2022, he has published an international book entitled Hybrid Nanomaterials for Drug Delivery. He has supervised 54 PhD and 142 MPharm candidates. He has, to his credit, over 485 publications in reputed journals, and he has been a reviewer for several international and national research journals. Professor Jain has been decorated with numerous prestigious awards such as IDMA Research Award in Industrial Pharmacy, Shroff Memorial National Award for his outstanding contributions as an author, academician, and scientist by the Indian Hospital Pharmacist, and the list goes on. Professor Jain's current research include various aspects of controlled, novel, and targeted drug delivery, and he is globally known for his excellent research in the field of hydrotropic solubilization, resealed erythrocyte-based drug delivery, and dendrimer drug delivery. Currently, he is exploring the pharmaceutical potential of carbon nanotubes and quantum dots. Professor Jain has been actively associated with professional associations, particularly APTI, IHPA, IPA, IPGA, and served UGC, AICTE, PCI, NAC, NBA, and in most of the Indian universities as an expert. According to a recent ranking announced by the Stanford University scientist, Professor Jain is included in top 2% scientists in the world in the area of pharmacology and pharmacy. On October 2nd, 2021, Professor Jain was conferred with the Lifetime Achievement Award by MPIPA at Pharmaceutical Teachers of India. We are blessed to have such a great personality with us. With this brief introduction of Dr. N.K. Jain, I would like to request Professor Jain to take the charge of this platform and enlighten all our participants with your great knowledge and experience. So over to you, sir.
Am I audible and visible both?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So thank you. And at the outset, I would like to acknowledge the organizers of this program, the principal and staff of Indira College of Pharmacy, all the participants, management, all the staff members of the college, and all those who are watching this particular program. In fact, the title of this program is concerned with the good educational practices, and this title looks to be very simple, but it's too complicated because as teachers, as most of us are teachers, we understand what we are doing, but in fact, we have never taken, or at least most of us, we have not taken any training, any sort of training as educationist. If you understand that B.Ed colleges, they are teaching how to teach these students, but we did not have this type of exposure. That's why I say good educational practices are important for us to understand. And in that context, certain things are very, very essential, which we are not familiar. At least we should have a rough idea, very crude idea of these things. And one of them is the element of psychology. As a teacher, as a researcher, as a student, all of us, we should learn something about the psychology. And as a teacher, it's very important for us to make the student understandable about the knowledge, about the information. In that whole process of teaching, that element of psychology is very, very important. And that's why I thought that I'll take up this particular issue as a part of good educational practices. Now, in case of good educational practices, many things are, many avenues are there, but one which I am selecting to discuss, that is the efficacy or the self-efficacy or the self-efficacy belief. They might sound a little strange, but then this is the most important attribute of any teacher. And I think this whole deliberation should be useful to most of the teachers, most of my colleagues. So this is what I'm going to present, and I am likely to proceed with this self-efficacy, then self-belief, the ethics, teachers and trade, and teaching, and certain points which I would like to suggest you to consider. Now, in this whole process, self-efficacy and self-belief, I will explain briefly. And then, because this is also concerned with the ethics. Ethics, again we know quite a bit, but still we have not gone into the deeper aspects of what is ethics and how it is important for us as a pharmacist and as a teacher to understand the real meaning of ethics and how to practice it. And hence, because all of us are teachers, I think that teachers and teaching, important components of this also need to be addressed. And ultimately, I'm suggesting what you should consider as a teacher for your career and for shaping the career of your students. About the self-efficacy, our great Mahatma Gandhi has said, if I have the belief that I can do it, I shall surely acquire the capacity to do it, even if I may not have it at the beginning. This shows the spirit of what is called as the self-efficacy. That means if you want to do something, you must think about it and you must assert about it. Without that, it is very difficult for us to attain what we really want. So in case of self-efficacy, I told in the beginning that this is psychological concept, and the psychological concept that was expanded by a psychologist named Alberta Bandura. Now, this Bandura, in fact, he died on 26th July of 2021, and he was a professor of psychology at Stanford University. And he had written a book also, I'll show you sometime. Now, this self-efficacy, although it appears to be, known to us, but if we go into the deeper aspects of self-efficacy, it refers to the set of beliefs we hold about our ability to complete a particular task. And in our case, the task is to teach the students. So, if we want to complete that task, we should have some ability, and that ability is considered the set of beliefs. Unless you believe in something, it is difficult for us to attain them. So it is the product of past experience, observation, persuasion, and emotion. And these are considered to be the main component of our self-efficacy. Now, this is linked to academic achievement and the ability to overcome phobias. As a teacher, we understand that when we have started teaching, naturally, we must have certain KBS. We must be suffering from certain KBS, but to attain the academic achievement, we will have to overcome them and generate some confidence, that is the level of self-belief and the confidence in us in order to be successful in our venture. Now, this is what I was referring, Self-Efficacy, that is the book by Albert Bandura. And in this, if you have to speak in one sentence, it is a person's belief in their own competence. How competent I am when I'm serving as a teacher. Am I competent? How, to what extent I am competent? Am I better as compared to others, or I have to improve upon? All these questions can be answered if you understand about the meaning of self-efficacy. This book was published in 1997. So almost 30 years back, this book was published, and that is still relevant to all of us. Now, how to go about it? Actually, all people know they can identify goals they want to accomplish. They can identify things they would like to change and things they would like to achieve. And in our case, we know very well we want to become a good teacher, and hence our achievement is well defined. At least it should be defined to all of us. But most people also realize that putting these plans into action is not quite so simple. And if you are a real teacher, you will understand what I'm saying. It's very difficult to be a good teacher because there are so many diversions, so many, I would say, hindrances, so many obstacles are there, and hence it is difficult to achieve what we really want to do, or it is not so simple to achieve our objective. So if we can put the people in two classes, people with a strong sense of self-efficacy means they have very, very strong sense of self-efficacy. What will happen? They develop deeper interest in the activities in which they are participating. Like say, if you are a teacher, that is your activity. You are participating in that and you should have deeper interest. Simple interest doesn't serve the purpose. Form a stronger sense of commitment to their interest and activities. And if you have deep interest, it will result into the stronger sense of commitment. You will have a sense of commitment, and at the same time, you will recover quickly from setbacks and disappointments. Because the setbacks and disappointments are always there. If we can recover fast, naturally we should be more successful. And if we are not, then naturally we shall attain what is called as the a sense in which we are not believing in ourselves, we are not believing in our own capability. So view changing problems as tasks to be mastered. If person has got a strong sense of belief, naturally we can face the challenges in a better way. People with a weak sense of self-efficacy, they avoid challenging tasks. I can't do that, I may not do that, I will not be successful, and all those things. So that type of challenging tasks are avoided. Believe that difficult tasks and situations are beyond their capabilities. This is the fate of a person who has got a weak sense of self-efficacy. And focus on personal failings and negatives outcomes. So he has a greater focus on these particular aspects and quickly loses confidence in personal abilities. So ultimately he loses the confidence and ultimately he becomes unsuccessful. So because you are a teacher, because we are all teachers, we should have we should make an introspection as a teacher. And in that, two questions I often pose to my colleagues. One is whether you became teacher by chance, or whether you became teacher by choice. All your career, all your achievements and everything will depend upon a honest answer to this. If you have become teacher by choice, you will do whatever is best possible for a teacher to do, and you will become a successful teacher. And if it is by chance, because you are not getting another job, because you are not getting a good job, you thought that this is the only job which you can get, and all those, so many things are there. So if it is by chance, naturally, the chances of yours being successful teacher are less than a person who has become teacher by choice. Do you remember when you had your first lecture? When you went to a class for delivering first lecture, how much phobia you had, how much self-confidence you have, how much self-efficacy you had, and how much you had confidence and self-confidence in yourself. Answer your questions, you will get the answer. Question these things and you'll get the answer. But I'm talking about self-belief. So if it is a self-belief, naturally you will develop it gradually, because nobody has been a born teacher. Everybody has to learn and constantly improve the teaching ability, and that's why teaching abilities come only with experience. And hence, if you remember how confident or how I would say inconfident you were there in the first lecture, and how did you improve, that will tell you how you can make further improvement, and you can become a good teacher. Now, if you want to attain the self-efficacy, then there are four identified sources. One is the mastery experience. That means you said a mastery of the subject. So the most effective way of developing a strong sense of efficacy is through mastery experiences. So if you do it constantly, if you are teaching constantly, same subject or same topic, etc., you develop the mastery, and that mastery experience that helps in developing a self-efficacy impact. Performing a task successfully strengthens our sense of self-efficacy. So if you have done something successfully, that gives us the confidence, and that gives us the self-efficacy, and that becomes a source of self-efficacy. Failing to adequately deal with a task or challenge can undermine and weaken self-efficacy. So if we are not successful, the day you feel, yes, I could not deliver the lecture in the best possible manner, you realize what were the problems, and you know what could be the solutions. That is the starting point for further improvement of your say teaching ability. Second source is called as the social modeling. uh, Seeing people similar to oneself. When you see other teachers who are considered to be more successful, you can make out where do you lack, what is the lacuna with you, and naturally you can make improvement. Witnessing other people successfully completing a task is another important source of efficacy. So if somebody is more successful than you, you can try to adopt the tactics what he is using, the ways he is teaching, and all those things. And also those who are successful, you can take the tips from these particular aspects. Then third is the social persuasion. People who could be persuaded to believe they have the skills and capabilities to succeed. This is basically related to the persuasion. Uh, People are to be persuaded. They are to be convinced that yes, they have the capability. And if this convincing is capable, then naturally they will develop that confidence. Consider a time when someone said something positive and encouraging. What have you achieved a goal? You remember very well. In certain conditions, when you are appreciated by somebody, you feel good of it, and if you are not appreciated, you feel bad about it. For example, when I say yes, well, you have done something, you have done some experiment, I say, hey, good job, you have done very well, and you have done well. Naturally you get an instinct that yes, my work is being appreciated, my practical is being appreciated, and it gives you a better impact so for your self-efficacy belief is concerned. So that is the gradual and verbal encouragement from other people who removes my doubt and increases my self-belief in doing something. And the last source of self-efficacy, that is the psychological response. This means what? By learning how to minimize stress and elevate mood. This is applicable to all of us. When facing difficult or challenging tasks, people can improve their sense of self-efficacy. So at times we are under stress for many reasons. That is, either it is professional or it is personal or it is family problem or whatever it is. But that stress and elevate that mood, that can be elevated. Stress can be removed and mood can be elevated. But we should know what are the factors by which this could be done in our case, and that is the psychological responses. So if you psychologically, if you have strong reflexes to overcome the stress, naturally you can do a better job as a teacher. So now what we can say, self belief or self efficacy, this is a person's belief in their ability to complete tasks and to achieve their goals. This is the major factor for us to consider, major aspect for us to grasp and also to appreciate. And this results into what? Judging yourself to be capable of success. If you judge yourself that you are capable of success, this increases. This is psychological thing. It increases your chance of actual success. Judging yourself as not capable of success, it decreases your chances of actual success. This you might have experienced, but if you have not, you can appreciate this. Yes, this is this is an aspect which you would understand. So we want to summarize the self-efficacy. We should understand that there are a lot of challenges in the life, and we should try to overcome them as possible. But all this will be possible, or it will be facilitated if we have high levels of self-efficacy. And this can predict how motivated you feel. Always one should be motivated. Seeing others, seeing other teachers, or seeing other people who are more successful, you should be able to learn from them. Developing a strong sense of self-efficacy, this can play an important role in almost every aspect of life, including pharmaceutical teaching, what you are, say, spending your life for. Now, this is also concerned with the ethics and law. How do we have the belief? How do we get the develop the self-efficacy or self-beliefs? This is having the roots in the ethics, and ethics is having roots in law. So if we understand law, if we understand ethics, or if we understand both, naturally this will help us in improving and shaping upon our self-efficacy. So this is just about the historical aspect relating to the ethics. But do remember that this is concerned with good and evil, right and wrong, justice, and other things. Now, ethics and law, they are concerned, mostly they are concerned with the concepts. These are called as the set concepts, which is concerned with the character or behavior of a person. And sometimes it is concerned to be related to the morality of the persons. Now, this law, ethics, behavior, morality, human character, or character, etc., these are all intertwined. How you appreciate them, how you decipher them, or how you try to say correlate them, this will help in shaping your self-belief, the theme which I am discussing. Then from ethics, we lead to professional ethics. So those the ethics which is practiced by people in a particular profession, that is the professional ethics. And this professional ethics, this was practiced in earlier times in mainly three areas, that is the divinity, law, and medicine. That means in medicine, it has been practiced since ages, and medicine, divinity, and law, these are considered as the professions or the professionals. And these professionals, they are concerned with, they have a special characteristics. First of all, specialist knowledge and skill that is there in all professions, and then they provide a service to the public. So whether it is medicine or whether it is pharmacy, they are considered a noble profession because they are providing service to the public. So one important characteristic of the professional ethics, that is the ability to provide service to the human beings. And then it is called as the professional ethics. One example I have quoted here, that is the Hippocratic oath, which medical doctors are still adhering to that. So these ethics are the Hippocratic oath. This tells what a doctor, what a physician should do. And still it is an oath, still it is not a law, still it is a part of ethics of medical profession. So law and ethics, they have another component, that is the public interest. Whatever profession is doing, that should be for in the interest of public, and hence every pharmacist should be willing to play his part in giving such a disservice, but should also avoid any act or omission, etc. Whatever you have learned under the ethics or the pharmaceutical ethics, etc. That is what the code of pharmaceutical ethics. Code of Pharmaceutical Ethics, which you have come across in the PCI, Pharmaceutical Council of India, that the Code of Ethics. Do remember that it is not an act. Do remember that it is a code. Do remember that it is a guideline, recommended guideline, what should be done by the pharmacist, what the pharmacist should do and what the pharmacist should not do. And if you remember, if you can recall, that was divided into different portions. One was the pharmacist in relation to his job, how the pharmacist should behave, and how he should carry out his duties. For example, handling of drugs. How should he do it? What practice he should follow in handling of the drugs, and how should he behave with the apprentice pharmacist when the new pharmacist comes for training, etc. Apprentice pharmacist comes to his say pharmacy, how he should behave or how he should teach the apprentice pharmacist. That is the part of the code of ethics. It is not legal. It is just suggestive. Pharmacist in relation to his trade, how we should do, that is the hawking of the drugs should not, their advertising display should be as per the what is given in the code, and many other things. This again you are familiar and you can recollect it. Pharmacists in relation to medical profession, how we should relate to the physicians or the nurses and other paramedical staff, and say also with the public and the liaison with the public. Then pharmacist in relation to his profession. So as a professional, how should he believe? So Code of Pharmaceutical Ethics, that is given by Pharmaceutical Council of India in our country, and in USA it is given with American Pharmaceutical Association. If you have studied anything from my book of forensic pharmacy, you will have these concepts clarified for yourself. Code of Ethics, Pharmaceutical Ethics, this is quoted by Charak, ancient physician in India. And this you shall not forget. I mean, always you should remember, whether it is your teacher or whatever it is. Even if your own life is in danger, you shall not betray or neglect the interest of your patients. This is the code of pharmaceutical ethics, and it is such an old code given by Charak. Most of you might have some idea about the pharmacy practice regulations framed by Pharmaceutical Council of India, which came in 2015. And in this, again, they have given the code of pharmacy for pharmacy practice regulations. I'll just saw it. Display, code of pharmacy ethics. So don't confuse with whatever written in the Pharmaceutical Council of India code of ethics and what is written in the pharmacy practice regulation by PCI in this particular regulation itself. So it is applicable for the practicing pharmacy. Now, this one section I'm showing, displaying name of owner and registered pharmacist. What is happening, what is not happening, just try to differentiate. Name of the owner of pharmacy business shall be displayed at or near the main entrance of each premises in which the business is carried on. So because this is code, this is not law, I have told you. But then you can understand what is happening in the nearby medical stores, whether they are doing it or not, whether they are following or not, because they are all supposed to be pharmacists or the practicing pharmacists. Then name of the registered pharmacist along with the registration number and qualification along with his photograph should be displayed adjacent to the area where dispensing is carried on in the pharmacy. Registered pharmacist shall also comply with a dress code of being dressed formally and wearing clean and white overall with a badge displaying the name and registration number. How many pharmacies you have seen like this? How many pharmacists you have seen complying with this code of, practicing pharmacist? 2015 is 6 years back. That was already given, right? If you have not gone through it, please try to go through and try to make yourself update and try to make update your fellow pharmacists too, maybe they're in the pharmacy, because I don't find these things being practiced in medical stores. To enhance it further, the same regulation, they also mention duties and responsibility of the registered pharmacists in general. These were not there so far as the Pharmacy Council of India, that code was there. Duties of registered pharmacists to their patients, duties of registered pharmacists in dispensing and supply of drugs, then pharmacists for promotion of rational drug use, patient counseling, public and profession. Patient counseling, there's no mention. Pharmacists for promotion of rational drug use, many things were not mentioned, which have been brought now under the same purview of the pharmacy practice regulations. Then they have also mentioned something about what are the unethical acts, particularly relating to the advertising, rebates and commissions, secret remedies, human rights. All you can understand, you can try to visualize. You might have come across so many aspects so many times in your life, and you might have seen yourself. Then what are the misconduct so far as this regulation is concerned? Punishment and disciplinary action. They are supposed to allow the inspectors in the area to inspect the premises where the medical store is situated, and also take certain necessary actions. Although it is a code, yes, I say that it is not a law, and that's why action is not being taken. And even if they suggest action, I don't know how far it will be taken up. Now, for the teachers, when we are talking about the self-belief, etc., also we are bound by the ethics, and in that case, say our concern is with the role of teachers. And when I call the role of teachers, I am also concerned with certain things. More importantly, the expectations from the teachers, expectations from us, from teachers. What are the expectations? What are the expectations of stakeholders like the society, parents, employees, management, government, students? Whatever are the expectations, you can always argue. Everybody is having expectations from the teachers. Everybody in the society, they feel that yes, he is a teacher, he should not do this. He is a teacher, he should do this. Everybody has got that feeling, and that's how the expectations of the society from a teacher are always greater than that from any other person, any other profession. And that's why we have to live with it. And that's why we have to be very careful about what is the role of the teachers. So don't consider teaching as a simple thing. It's a very complicated thing. It's a very difficult to become a good teacher, and it is very difficult to practice the profession of pharmaceutical teaching. If you can understand, if you can appreciate these things, probably you will try to improve yourself. Yes, these are certain questions to you, including Nitisha. Why should students attend your class? What is special you are giving to the students in book of all the information which is available in the library or the internet? Why should the student attend your class? What is not available in all these things which is given by you? Ask yourself a question. Identify slow and fast learners. It's not our job that we go to the class and spend 55 to 60 minutes. It's our duty also to identify who are the slow learners, who are the fast learners, to identify them and try to improve upon both fast learners to still faster learners and slow learners to become faster learners. And that is the important, I don't say main, but I say important job of a teacher. Use of teaching aids. I have also written misuse of teaching aids. Why I am writing this? Because we know that if we have got the teaching aids with us, it facilitates our job, and it also facilitates the job understanding by the students. But at the same time, it also gives me the idea that yes, I can go into the class and I can pass 60 minutes or 55 minutes without preparing for the same at my home. Because everything which I want to speak is already there on the slides, etc. Doesn't mean that I don't have to prepare, I don't have to review or refurbish my knowledge so far as the teaching is concerned. This is a serious problem emerging currently because of the enhancement in the facilities which are available for us. For recapitulation, how often we ask the students, Nitisha will know, how often we ask our students, yesterday I have taught and how much you have understood, whether you have understood, where you have not understood, whether you really went through the part which I taught yesterday and all those things. This also helps in improving ourselves and the students, and it also strengthens your self-belief. Books and notes, yes, I'm seriously concerned about it. You know very well, you must have come across some teachers who go to the class and they dictate from the book, from one book, from the two books, and sometimes they ask the students to dictate, and sometimes they give the notes. Yes, notes will be 10 years old to 15 years old, books will be 20 years old, because they have not updated themselves with the new editions of the books. They have not updated their notes themselves. Yes, there may be some, that number of teachers may be very small doing that. But then they are also teachers, and the students, they observe them also. It is for them to accept these teachers or not to accept. But one thing is very clear, that when they are a student, they love the teachers who are not very strong in telling their say deficiencies, or not allowing them to become more and more honest, etc. Evaluation, for example, when you go for the you can make a paper which can be solved by everybody. You can make a paper which cannot be solved by anybody. You can make paper which can be solved by 30%, or you can identify the persons who are real, they have really understood the subject or not. That is for you, and accordingly you should upgrade your skills and try to identify what I mentioned earlier, the slow learners and the fast learners, and them decide a strategy. Because if you are a real teacher, if you are if you are interested in the welfare of your student, you will definitely do that, and you will pay sort of personal attention to every student in your class in terms of what improvement he or she needs for his or her career. Yes, this is very I would say difficult topic to address, but still, because all of you are teachers, you understand, you can appreciate what I'm talking about. Quality versus Me Too publications. How many journals are there? How many publications are coming up? Whether you are publishing in a journal in which you have to pay, there is the paid journals, and most of the journals which are coming up are the international journals, international journal of this, international journal of this, and all are there mentioned international, which may not be even regional journals. All right. The quality of the journals, you know yourself. So you may publish, but at the same time, if you have to ask yourself, your inner conscious, whether it's a good journal, you know very well. You can befool others, but you cannot befool yourself. So you know that you have paid the money, you have got it published this way and that way, and at the same time, you know that publishing in a good journal with a good impact factor, international journal, it's very difficult, or it requires good work, good research work, good output, and good preparation of the manuscript, and many other things. So that Me Too journals, try to avoid them, try to go for a good journal, and try to go for a meaningful journal. Otherwise, it's a junk. What junk food, junk food, you eat junk food and you know that it is junk. You publish in a journal and you know it is junk journal. It is junk publication. Why to waste your time just to get some credit somewhere? But that is not the job of a teacher. That is not the job of a good teacher. Students exploitation. Yes, this is a serious thing. I don't find that 99.9% of the publications, they don't start with the name of the student who has worked. They start with the name of the author who is the supervisor. Why should supervisor take credit for publication of a work which is not done by him, which is done by the student? So if I am the first author, I should have done the work, but I want to take the credit because the student can't say anything. He can't say, sir, this is my work, so can I have the first authorship? I should be honest enough. I should be having ethical values. I should have self-belief in myself and my student, and I should give credit to my student for the work. Whatever is happening, this is really painful because most of the people know they are sailing in the same boat. No, most of them, they don't have courage to say, no, this is not my work. This is the work of my student. I am the senior author. Take credit to become a senior author and give full credit to the student who has really done the work. Right? Many other things are there in between. You can understand. Copycat paste. Yes, this is also known to you. I need not explain because you observe daily all these things, and whether it is publicized, whether it is coming into your knowledge of others or not. Yes, in your heart, within the core of heart, you know that yes, this is a copy, this is cut, and this is paste. Book writing. Yes, everybody is taking. Most of teachers have taken this particular venture, but it's very difficult. It's not so easy. If unless you go for copy cut and paste, it's a real hard work for writing the books, because I have written so many books, so I know it's very difficult. But if you are really serious, if you are sincere, and if you have zeal to write, then only try to attempt it. Otherwise, don't waste your time and don't give junk books to the students. Review articles. It's a serious exercise. Review article is supposed to be written by the persons who have done some work in that particular area. But now Tom, Dick, Harry, anybody comes and then they start writing review articles on any damn topic. They can write on any damn topic what you say. That you know, understand that is not ethics. That is I would say unethical. Book chapters, same thing applies to the book chapters. And IPR, patent, technology transfer, etc. They are they all of them, they warrant ethical submission and ethical work from the teachers. But if we want to improve upon self-belief, then we have to go for upgradation, and that is the skill upgradation. And many facilities are available for that. That is the seminar, webinar, symposia, conference, workshop, FDPs, national international workshops, industrial exposure, collaboration, industry, hospital, research institution, faculty exchange program, sabbatical leave, etc. Sabbatical leave, this is there in most of the universities, but particularly the central universities and IITs and certain state universities also. It allows you to go to a foreign country or another university, spend some time, and the university will pay for your leave of absence, and you will upgrade your skill. Quality improvement programs are also there, which are by the funding agencies, in which you can go to industry also for say a definite period of time, maybe 3 months or 6 months, and upgrade your skill. Most of us, we don't have exposure to the industry, but if you want to have exposure, you can avail that quality improvement program. And same QIP, many of the teachers, they have taken the PhD work also, but the same thing could be done in industry, not for PhD, otherwise also, and you could say upgrade your skill. What is really happening in the industry, when we talk about the industry student interaction, always there's a problem. We are not exposed to the industry, and industry people, they are not exposed to the academic things, and as there is a gap, how to bridge that particular gap. That's what the quality improvement program can help us, and we really upgrade our skill, and that upgrading, that is the students are benefited with that. That is a great I say opportunity. Most of the teachers are unable to take it for many reasons, but still, if it is possible, one should try to do it. I did it in 1973. I took a 2 months exposure to Park Davis in Mumbai, and then I had a I would say widened vision so far as my teaching to these students is concerned. This quote I am giving you because as a teacher, you are always open to the ideas. Teaching is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. That is none other than APJ Abdul Kalam. So, what's the gist? If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me. Try to understand and appreciate. But we have to come across with regulatory agencies, different regulatory agencies, that is whether it is for service rules or the conditions, or the promotions, or the financial matters like pay scale, DA, getting managing admissions, conduct of teaching examination. Just try to understand what I'm saying. But those who are in the private institutions, most of them, not all, but most of them, they have got a good job to do. And what is that? Getting or managing the admissions. For 2 to 3 months, they have to spend their time in getting admissions, persuading the students to take admission in their institution by hook or by crook, which is you can understand what will the fate of those particular teachers, how much self-belief they will have, how much self-confident they will become, how much self-respect they will have. This I'm just telling in very brief. You can try to elaborate it. And you understand. I know everybody understands all this. Financial matters. How many of you did get the 100% salary during the COVID? How many of you did not lose their jobs during this particular period? Are you getting the pay skills, UGC skills, AICT skills? How many of you are getting? How many of you are getting the 100% D which the state or central government is giving? Ask yourself. And if these things are not there, then they should not expect all the things from teachers. You don't want to give anything to teachers, but you expect everything from the teachers. You don't want to give them their DA, but you want them to be there in the college for 10 hours, for 12 hours, and do everything whatever is liked by the management, which may not be literate also, which may not be having enough idea about what education is, whether they consider this to be a profession, whether they consider it to be a business, whatever it is. I'm sorry to be harsh enough, but then this is the reality, and these realities, they are reflected in our day-to-day working. That I would say challenges our self-belief. We lose our confidence, and these are the things which I think we have to take up whenever matter comes. So PCI versus AICT regulatory agencies are there, and they are offering these particular courses. But one thing I have to tell you that as compared to the PCI visit, PCI inspection, there are two accreditation agencies in India. One is the NBA and another is the NAAC, right? And these are what is the accreditation agency. They are not inspecting agencies. And the difference between the two is that NBA, this is the program specific. They say, yes, your B.Pharm program is accredited. Your diploma pharmacy program is accredited. And what they are doing, there is no inspection. It is not inspection, it is the visit. And what is important for me to make you understand, that is the ethics. What is the ethics of this NBA? That is the transparency. It is so transparent that before the expert leave your college, they share the report they are writing with the principal. That means what is there in the report, there is a note to the principal. And if he is not convinced, then he can discuss with the experts. And then it could be amended also. How much transparency, how much more transparency you expect? A person is coming from outside, is spending 2 days in your institution, writing the report, sharing the report with you. That is the transparency. And that is the gist of accreditation. The another one is the National Assessment Accreditation Council. This is also assessment accreditation institution, but difference that this is for the institution. They say this Indira College of Pharmacy accredited. This college is accredited. They don't say B.Pharm or D.Pharm or whatever it is. They say it is the institutional accreditation. Again, how many inspections? There are no inspection. There is again a visit. And what is the transparency? Same thing. This is the transparency. Ethics is the transparency. Ethics of accreditation lies in the transparency. And if you have transparency, again, if the report is shared, you know what is written in the report. The expert, they have assessed, and then they have shown you what we have assessed. You can discuss with them, you can debate with them, but ultimately the principal agrees with the report. And if a principal agrees, that means he knows what are the lacuna, what are the good, what are the bad, what are the improvements required. Everything is agreed, and then only the report is made public. That type of thing is there. So can you expect any such thing in your PCI inspection? No, because the whole concept is different. Then there it is inspection, and this is not inspection at all. So as a teacher, what your ethics centers around, that is concerned with the compensation, monetary concession, how much money you really get, what is your taken salary, and whether it is commensurate with what you should get or not, or is there any exploitation or not. This is the plain, I would say, question. Is there any exploitation? Are you being exploited monetarily or say financially? What are the comforts and luxuries you are getting and you deserve? Are you a teacher interested in the name and fame? How much name you want? How much fame you want? Social recognition you want? People should remember, yes, he's a teacher. Anything, try to answer yourself, and then ultimately what should happen? You should leave a legacy. People should remember, yes, this is the teacher, this was the teacher, this people should become like this, people should follow the teacher. And every time, whether I mean, today today your student is there, tomorrow he will not be your student, he may be your colleague, he may be better than you, he may be leader, he may be a minister, whatever it is. But then he must say, he or she must say, yes, this is the teacher. I learned everything from him. My personality is a part of this person's reflection as a teacher, as my teacher. And then ultimately what I say, such कहने का साहस और सलीका. Such कहने का means you should speak truth, but in a different way. You should know how to speak. Saying the student, you are an idiot, you don't know anything. Telling that, no, you try to improve. No, you have done a good job, but then you can improve. You have got 80% mark, but I think you deserve little more efforts can get you 90% marks. This is type of encouragement you have to give. That means you are telling the such, but you should tell it properly. I told you several times, you don't understand, you are idiot, you are fool, and all those things. No, you can tell that also. But is this going to improve his self-belief, his student's self-belief? No, it is the words which encourage the students. Say, as I told you, yes, you deserve better marks, but you have to improve a little bit. Your writing is probably it is coming in way, or you have not consulted. You should have consulted that book. You should have consulted literature and all many things like that. So you can be negative, you can be positive. You know that you are meaning good for this student, but saying in a particular tone, in a particular way that can offending, and at the same time it could be encouraging also. That decision, that differentiation should be with a teacher, or a teacher should know difference in what you are trying to encourage or what you are trying to discourage your student. That is really leading to the self-belief of the student, and also its competence, and over the years, how he is going to shape his future depending upon your impact as a teacher. So this is the final word. Improved teacher self-efficacy can result in improved teacher mental health and job satisfaction and students' academic performance. This is going to be reflected in the performance of the student. So whether you are doing good, whether you are happy, whether you are dishonest, whether you are honest, most of the things, they are also reflected in your student. That there's something which you should never forget. Don't think that nobody is observing, so I can do this thing. You are being observed. Being a teacher means people have got expectations from you, and they expect the teacher to do this, to not to do this. So whatever society is behaving with us, we have our, I would say, accountability towards our students. That you should never forget. So your ethics as a teacher in COVID-19 impact, online teaching platforms, many things have been there. You have observed them. Does it mean that we don't require offline teaching? Does it mean that online teaching is enough or that is more than sufficient? You have to make a balance. You should appreciate the good points of online teaching. But at the same time, you should know that chalk and talk is always a better way of teaching these things. And if you can combine, for example, teaching working of a rotary tableting machine to the student, how efficient you might be in drawing, in expression, unless you show a video working for the tableting machine, I don't think then the student is going to appreciate. So you have the extent of online and offline both. Try to take the advantage of online and supplement your offline teaching. That is what I have learned from the COVID-19 impact. Today you are having this online meeting, that conference. How 10 years back, did you think about that it will be possible that I am sitting here and I'm doing a lecture to say 100 persons in a particular institution or over the country? Is it possible? Nobody could imagine these things. And today they are the reality. And hence what I mean to say that you should be open. All teachers should be open. What is good for your student, that you have to adopt. If it is not good for your student, don't adopt. To what extent it is acceptable, if you decide. And then accordingly, adopt those things in your life as a teacher, in your teaching as a person. And therefore, I'm just citing these things I have borrowed from somewhere. I feel that it's something which is encouraging to all of us. And at the same time, we should take pride in doing this. So out of this, I'm just showing one thing. Beyond that doctor, it is me a teacher. Beyond that economist, that is me a teacher. Everywhere, whatever is written, beyond that architect, architect is what? He is there because of his teacher. Psychologist is because of his teacher. And like that, you can read the whole thing. And it is, the credit goes to a teacher. And hence I, as a teacher, take the credit. And this is what is I'm dedicating to all the teachers, not all the teachers, all the amazing teachers. I carry the light even though they mostly make fun of me by their uncharitable jokes. That happens with every teacher. But I am a teacher. I don't qualify for a bungalow or a villa nor earn enough to buy an expensive house or a car like corrupt officers and corrupt politicians. But yes, I am a teacher. Some think or even say that I have too many holidays. Many people, they always say teachers have so many holidays. They never know that I spend those holidays either correcting papers or planning what and how I am going to teach when I go back to school, college, university, institution, because I am a teacher. Sometimes I get confused and even get stressed by the ever-changing policies over what and how I have to teach. But I am a teacher. So in spite of all these things, in spite of all these odds, yes, I take pride in being a teacher because I'm contributing something. I am giving something to my students. I am giving something to the society and to the nation. Yeah. On paydays, I don't laugh as correct officers and others do. They laugh. "Oh, I have got so much of money from this way and that." The correct officers, no. But by the next day, love to come with a smile to those that teach because I am a teacher. It doesn't matter that they drive while I walk because all what they have is through me. Those who are character persons, they have a lot of things which I don't have. But still, I enjoy my life, whether I have a four-wheeler, whether I have two-wheeler, I have a rented bungalow, or I have a small house. I do my duty, I contribute myself, and yes, I am a teacher. Whether they acknowledge me or not, I am a teacher. This message I just wanted to carry with me to all of my colleagues. Yes, this is something which is a yeah, I wanted to share with you. No more exploitation of teachers. This was the UG circular. This was 13th of August 2020 during the COVID itself. And what was that? This was a public notice from the UGC saying that the institutions are not supposed to retain the original documents of the teachers. Right? Why? Because they keep the documents. They don't allow you to go out to apply, to attend the interview, and that is the real exploitation of the teachers. To that extent, it was rampant that UGC had to bring this public notice and inform all the institutions, universities and colleges, you should not do it. This is against the policy of the University Grant Commission, and hence this should not be done. So in the beginning, I told you I'll leave certain points to ponder. You have to think about it. You may think about it. What is the status of non-attending institutions, non-attending students, and some of the non-attending teachers also? To what extent the exploitation of teachers are there and how it can be avoided? Financial crisis to teachers, job security to the teachers, use of internal quality assurance cell that you should try to think of in all the institutions, because this is something very, very good. Archive, every institution should develop an archive where you have all the information about the institution in a nutshell, and whenever the visit or inspections are there, you will not to run from pillar to post where that information and all. I can deliver a lecture on this archival for 1 hour, but then time is short and I think I am shooting up my time. Outreach programs, how much outreach programs are we conducting? Awareness about the drugs, for example, I have given. Social responsibility, for example, the cleanliness drive or the use of drugs or the irrational use of drugs or the rational use of drugs. We always should chalk out the certain plans for the National Pharmacy Week, because that is the time, that is the week in which we can project ourselves, and at the same time we can make the public aware about pharmacy. That is not a small thing, that's a very big thing, because you are a part of society, but the society doesn't know you. How will you make them to understand what pharmacy is, what teachers are doing, what pharmacy institutions are, students coming out pharmacy institutions are they doing? This is your job. You have to become the ambassador of the profession, and you have to bear this particular torch. So, in nutshell, what I am taking you from step to this step. What is this step? The person is sitting like this. I won't do it. I'm talking about the self-belief, right? Then I can't do it. Then I want to do it. How do I do it? I'll try to do it. I can do it. I will do it. And then, yes, I did it. So from this concept of Bandura, I have brought you to a point where you say, yes, I am a teacher and I will remain to be a good teacher. And how will you do it? Try to be a role model. This you have to take, the lesson. You will try to be a role model. And role model means what? Everybody tries to do like you. Every student, no, this is the teacher. I would like to become like this person, like this lady, like this gentleman. This is a role model for me, where the way he teaches, the way he talks, the way he encourages, and whatever it is, whatever is possible for the student to do it, that a teacher is doing, and that's how he can become the role model. So try to become a role model. So with this, I would like to thank you. I think it is just 1 hour. I have tried to finish it. Thank you very much. Thank the organizers. Thank Dr. Joshi. Thank Dr. Dayanand, Nitisha, Dr. Pallavi, whosoever is there. I can't make out the names. All the participants, all the management, all the staff of Indira College of Pharmacy, and everybody who is all concerned with this for this EICT sponsored program. Thank you very much. And
Sir,
please.
let me thank you, sir, first on the behalf of everyone present here, Team ICP, myself, Nitisha Soni, would like to extend my sincere thanks to sir for giving your valuable inputs in this topic. I really appreciate your lecture, sir, and I felt like I am teaching in the classroom and you are in front of me. I can proudly say that I am so blessed, so fortunate, and the luckiest student to have a teacher like you. And you are role model of me, sir, as you told in your slides. And I still remember how much we are looking forward for your lecture. And believe me, sir, we enjoy every minute of it. And when it comes to teaching, nobody can compete with you. You are the
No, don't
best.
tell me.
No,
Don't tell
no,
me.
sir, no, sir. It is from my heart. So you are the best teacher, and you are my
Thank you,
favorite.
Nitisha.
You are my
Thank
favorite
you.
teacher too, sir. So
Thank you.
I never get a chance, sir, to speak in front of you, but because of Anga Madam and Kunu, sir, I got this opportunity so that I can tell you how much grateful I am to have a teacher like you. There is so much to learn from your knowledge, experience, and personality. And I can still recall that how much you are punctual for your lecture and you are always available for the guidance and you are very much helpful for us. And you are an inspiration to all the students and a teacher like me. So I would like to say thank you very much, sir, to be here and give your valuable inputs in this topic. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Should anybody have the question, then I can try.
Excellent session indeed, sir.
Thank you so much,
sir. It was very
Thank
nice.
you so much.
Yeah.
And sir, we are looking forward for future interactions, sir.
Sure.
Okay.
I think you have got another lecture from Dr.
Yes,
Mangla, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So no questions. We did not suppose any questions or what, like.
Probably everyone was overwhelmed.
So no questions.
We got so many comments that it's a very compliments are
all
there.
compliments. Nitisha, you can read few for sir.
It's fantastic.
Actually, this topic is very complicated, but I thought that it's related to all of us. Then it's psychological aspect, no, mostly we are ignoring.
Sir, this hierarchy understanding, like I won't do it too, I did it. It was actually inspiring.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, so we can see all compliments in the chat box and no questions. Oh.
Thank you.
So we can conclude that.
All the best. All the best.
And sir, whenever, like when you will come to Pune next month or whenever, please do call us so that we will like to have you here offline with us and learn more from you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you
so much, sir.
Yes. Thank you so much.
The next session is starting shortly. Just give us a couple of minutes. We'll be starting immediately. Please hold on.
Hello, Sneha madam.
Yes, sir. Can I start?
Yeah, we can start. We can start.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so I will start now. Good afternoon, everyone.
respected faculty members and participants, once again, I welcome you all for the second day of AICTE-sponsored ICP National Conference on Good Pharmacy Educational Practices. It's my great pleasure and honor to introduce and welcome our today's eminent speaker and great researcher, Dr. Mrs. Mangal Nagarsenkar, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am, who is going to talk to us about combining teaching and research in pharmacy education. So I will just briefly introduce ma'am. Dr. Nagarsenkar ma'am is currently affiliated as Professor Emeritus to prestigious Bombay College of Pharmacy, where she has more than 35 years of teaching and research experience. She is also professor and research advisor at Vivekananda Education Society's College of Pharmacy. She secured B.Pharm with first rank IDMA gold medal from esteemed University of Mumbai, where she also did M.Pharm and PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. She was Professor Mrs. M.R. Baichwal Visiting Fellow in Pharmaceutical Sciences and Technology in UICT in 2005 to 2006. She has received Amrut Modi Research Fund Distinguished Researcher National Award in 2012. She is associated with Pharmaceutical Teachers of India and secured Dr. Mrs. Manjushri Pal Best Researcher National Award in 2013. She has around 115 research articles, national and international, 8 review articles, 8 book chapters, and 2 books to her credit. She has presented more than 100 research papers at various national and international conferences. She has been granted 1 US patent, 2 Indian patents, and 3 trademarks to her credit. She guided around 45 M.Pharm and 30 PhD students. Her areas of research interest includes design and formulation of nanosystems like targeted liposomes, lipid-based nanosystems, polymeric nanosystems, cyclodextrin-based drug delivery, new delivery systems for oral, parenteral, topical, etc., gene delivery. She is member of several esteemed scientific organizations like Society for Pharmaceutical Dissolution Sciences, Indian Pharmaceutical Association, Control Release Society, Indian Chapter, and Association of Pharmaceutical Teachers of India. She has research collaborations with FS University of Jena, Germany, University of Helsinki, Finland, Goethe University, Germany, GS Medical College, Mumbai, ACTREC, Navi Mumbai, IICT, Hyderabad, and CDRI, Lucknow. Her research is funded by various esteemed agencies like ICMR, DBT, CSIR, AICTE, UGC, Lady Tata Memorial Fund, and AMRF from India, and by BMBF, Germany, Academy of Finland, Belgium, and Bristol-Myers Squibb, USA. She has successfully completed many projects for pharmaceutical industry. She is also a member of Editorial Advisory Board of IJPS, Editorial Advisory Board of Drug Delivery Letters, Bentham Publication, and has reviewed several articles in different national and international journals. With this brief introduction, I request Dr. Nagarsenkar ma'am to kindly start the session. Once again, welcome ma'am.
Thank you, Sneha, for very long introduction. I had given only few points. So it looks like you have a good literature search done already on me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank Dr. Anagha Joshi, Dr. Dayanand, and Dr. Madhur for this kind invitation. I just listened to very inspiring message given by Professor N.K. Jain to teachers. And on that background, Now I'm going to start. Just let me know whether you can see my screen. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I have some thoughts on education, teaching, and research with reference to pharmaceutical sciences. You don't have any answers in my presentation. It's going to be short presentation, and I know that you are wise enough to find your own answers. So on the backdrop of what inspiring message that Professor N.K. Jain gave, okay, I'm just trying for my next slide, okay. We look at what is written here at the bottom, which is a quote from Winston Churchill, who has once, for a long time, led UK as Prime Minister. Not only that, he was writer and he was also orator, and his opinion on school. So if you look at that, he has a very sharp comment, which is of 1950s to 1970 maybe, that schools have not necessarily much to do with education. Here, schools doesn't mean schools in our context, it means schools, colleges, teaching institutions. And he had a feeling that education is quite different and has little place in school. A very sharp, very accurate remark by somebody who's a writer, leader. And possibly this is because of old time of 1950s, 1970s, since when we've been changing. And I take this as a quite positively as a criticism, to keep in mind always that we don't want our schools only as a place which is simply giving information and taking exams. And so we look at what Albert Einstein, the great philosopher and scientist, says, that education is not merely learning of facts, but training of mind to think. And so this has been always at back of my mind when I have taught students. And on left-hand side, you have our president, former president, and great scientist APJ Abdul Kalam, saying that there should be creativity, and that creativity should lead to thinking, and this should be part of education. Education very formally, maybe if you look into literature, it's described as a process of facilitating learning, acquiring knowledge, acquiring skill, belief, habits. And the methods in education, the important one is teaching and also research. And most of us are doing both of these aspects in pharma education. It also says, the literature also says that frequently education is under guidance of educators. So faculty is a very, very integral part of education. It may take place in formal or informal setting. Most of the time it is in schools, colleges, universities, but sometimes it could be in open school or in any other informal setting. With this, now coming to education in pharmaceutical sciences, I have found that we have certain journals which are actually devoted to education in pharmaceutical sciences. We hardly read them, or we don't read them as much as we read our scientific journals. But this particular FIP's journal, I've been tracking since maybe 2000. It has a very nice tagline. If you see, says, improve global health by advancing education. And if you remember what Prime Minister Modi spoke a few weeks back in Ahmedabad, he actually gave a credit, real credit to 11 College of Pharmacy for flourishing pharmaceutical industry and pharmaceutical profession in Gujarat. and also in a long way, India becoming hub for pharmaceutical sciences. So pharmacy education is that important for the profession. And also I like another tagline of pharmacy education is molecules become medicines when pharmaceutical expertise are added. If you look at the journal's description, it actually covers everything which is related to pharma education, teaching learning methods, new curriculums, syllabi, guidance for structuring courses. There are many case studies. There are country studies. When I am reading this journal, although most of it comes from Western world, there are so many articles which are coming from about teaching, education, research from China, from Saudi Arabia, from Lebanon, from many countries, but very few articles from India. I think we are very busy with science part of it, it looks like. This is another journal which I found is for pharma education, and this is quite old because at 2011, when I was looking at it, and I actually kept this picture because this was of 75th anniversary of the journal, that is American Journal of Pharmaceutical Education, and has also many articles on education. And sometimes it's very educative, informative to read these articles. Okay, I was once looking at education and top 10 universities for pharmaceutical sciences in the world. You will find that most of these universities, when you talk about world, they come under medical science. So maybe this is third year or fourth year I've been seeing Harvard University is on top, Monash University, second place, and likewise. This first university is private university, very rich university, but their outcomes are great. In comparison with that, most of other universities are state universities or government universities. Now, this table I have extracted from Indian authors who have published in American Journal of Pharmaceutical Education, the journal that I showed sometimes back in 2010, which was an article on education of pharmaceutical sciences in India. And they had put this table showing first 10 pharmacy colleges in India. So starting with the first college at BHU, followed by Punjab University, and then LM Pharmacy College, which is a private college. Whereas many others you will see are again central universities, state universities. You can see name of UICT. This is a place where I completed my bachelor's and master's. And all of them currently are offering in pharmaceutical sciences, bachelor, master's, and PhD. We also have our own journal, Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, which publishes both on education and research. And pharmacy education in India is more of industry oriented, but in certain areas it is also patient oriented. We have course of DPharm, which is more oriented towards community pharmacy, and otherwise BPharm, BPharm MBA, MPharm, MTech Pharma, MSc Pharm Science, MPharm MBA, all of them more towards science and in some way preparing for flourishing pharma industry. And PharmD, which is started much later, is again towards community pharmacy, pharmacy profession, pharmacy practice. And this, I think you are more familiar because I don't look into NIRF ranking now so much because I consider all good colleges, irrespective of their ranking, are more or less equivalent, but still there are always ranks. So this is a recent one in which Jamia Hamdard tops NIRF ranking, followed by Punjab University. And I'm also happy that I see my alma mater, ICT in 5th position. Well, that brings me to what we are doing in education. Here the word professor means faculty. And so we have number of responsibilities in our service. And they include, but of course, not limited to teaching part, that is teaching requisite classes, labs, practicals, conducting examination, and assisting with also development of course material wherever there is opportunity. All this is more part of teaching. We also have servicing on committees, which is like administrative part, outreach programs, etc. And I have listed this because this also takes not insignificant time of a teacher in service. So we need to give attention to this also. And of course, supervising masters and doctoral research students, publishing in journals, attending conferences, writing proposals for a grant, all being part of the research aspect in our responsibilities. And I have few slides towards the end about writing proposals for a grant, which I thought is something which I have gathered by experience and I should share with you. I've just taken services and outreach program first because all of us, as a part of our service, we are doing active participation on various committees which have some focus or directives of institution. And many a times there's also mentoring to junior faculties. Now, like this conference is being organized, organizing conference or actively participating in certain organizations, professional bodies, evaluations, orations, all this is not necessarily service to institution, but it is service to discipline. And outreach programs like conducting workshops or seminars for awareness of drug or helping at community pharmacy in the literature's survey of prescriptions, etc. Such programs being initiated by teachers. And I consider that all this might take about 10 to 30% of teachers' time. I mean, it depends on at what stage you are in teaching and what is your fundamental focus while teaching. You may have more or less, or even the time in year, active teaching time, and maybe the time of examinations. You may have 10 to 30% devoted to this function. Since I have always been interested in teaching, so I was looking into the papers and the reviews, say what qualities are essential for teaching. And I have found there are many papers by many authors. This particular group has been publishing, I think, right from 2002, then in 2008, then in 2010, 2016. So they are updating based on what is happening around and what teachers consider what qualities are required and what students also have a view as to what qualities would be very essential. And amongst them, I have just taken a few of them, which everybody will agree that you need knowledge of subject matter, you need effective communication and confidence in your delivery. I'm taking these two and enthusiastic about teaching and topic, preparedness and promoting critical thinking. These were actually points which were rated by teachers more. They were saying that these are very important, and many senior faculties have put this point that should be able to promote critical thinking and not just giving subject matter information. For students, when I was looking at what is students' view and what qualities they feel should be essential, then they had this approachable. Most of the students or majority of the students had felt that teachers should be approachable. Of course, they have also said about enthusiasm about teaching and topics and preparedness or delivering an organized lecture. So there may be difference of opinion, but still we all know that these qualities are essential and we need to work towards them and teach. And so teaching also takes very, very significant time in our profession of education. There are different methods of teaching, and I'm not going to speak about teaching methods, old methods, new methods, simply blackboard and chalk teaching, or very modern to flipped classroom, etc. Because I think that there have been so many seminars and quality improvement programs and conferences on teaching, and particularly I was seeing in pandemic period, they were very well attended. Pandemic actually led us to a discovery that teaching can be taken out of physical classroom, face-to-face learning to online platforms of learning. And this is again taken, this conclusion is also taken from Journal of Pharmacy Education in an article which was published in 2020. Students' view, so when they scored, there was no significant difference between knowledge scores, whether it is online learning or face-to-face learning. So students concluded that both modes were very effective, but many preferred a blended learning approach. I felt students are very wise and therefore we need to do better and better job, because most of the students valued interaction in face-to-face learning, but of course they also valued the flexibility that is offered by online learning. There was yet another paper which I saw in 2022, which was much more focused on a specific course of chemical analysis and what is students' satisfaction. And students were extremely satisfied with online learning of that chemical analysis course. And this paper came from Lebanon. And what it said is all students believed, all students means 100% students believed that learning objectives were met. Students were able to calculate precisely with accuracy. They were able to find out the errors, and this had highest score in the evaluation. The only thing which went on low score in that paper, as I remember, is to explore multiple solutions to the given problem. Personally, I prefer face-to-face learning because I feel that the liveliness and response that you can have in face-to-face learning, or the discussions that you can encourage, is not so possible in online learning. So I feel online learning, this is my view, is no substitute to face-to-face learning in class, but it's a good alternative when you need. Now, one of our responsibility in teaching is also contribution to educational program or curriculum or syllabus. Although we have, say right now, PCI syllabus, which is running, but we do have some flexibility. And while the syllabuses are made, sometimes some representatives from our colleges are there in the board, in the committees, to whom we can also send our contributions. So it's always in the back of teachers' mind that one should contribute to syllabus or curriculum, or if this is done in this way, it would be better. And so I looked at old BPharm course that I studied. We of course had all these topics of pharmaceutics, chemistry, physical chemistry, analysis, dispensing and forensic pharmacy. But imagine I had also for my study mathematics, heat and mechanical engineering, engineering drawing, with those T squares as a practical, economics, logic, sociology, also costing as subjects in the BPharm course. And we know that over the years, the course is really modernized, updated with advances in each subject. We have also new subjects which are added, say like biotechnology, drug delivery system, cosmeticology, and so on. But the consideration always should be, is it in line with the requirement? And equally, do we prepare our graduates for successful career and employability? This is a very big question and always needs to be addressed because the environment is always changing. The milieu is always changing and you have to adapt to it. So again, I was looking at Harvard University programs because they are known to prepare the students for the work that they would do in profession. I was looking at one program which is Masters of Medical Sciences in Clinical Investigations. It has got some closeness to our clinical pharmacy part. So I found that these are only important points that I picked up, and this is not really the overall program, but they had core topics like we write core topics, but there was a lot about what can be done for, and in detail, what can be done for critical thinking and practical applications. Also, the students had to they had to develop their own research proposal theoretically and present it. And there was coursework which is given for teamwork, for networking. They of course had a research project which is mentored, just like we have research project. And they have also thesis, presentation, and 2 manuscripts compulsory. But overall, the program runs in such a way through many workshops that it includes all aspects of requirement of those professionals who will participate in clinical investigations. And I think that is the reason why their placements can improve. They are very good. And that brings me to the other aspect, and that is research, which is a systematic investigation into and study of materials to establish facts and also to reach new conclusions. The link to spirit of inquiry, creativity is much more with research. And the elements of importance would be, of course, students who are going to do research. There's no substitute to faculty or guides. Equally important is institutes, facilities, and funds. So because research is now so much important for development of academic institutes, for knowledge-driven growth of institute based on innovation, you know that in NIRF ranking also, this point is given a very, very significant importance. But as a teacher, I always felt that quality of research also translates into quality of teaching and learning in the classroom, and it benefits students and society. So when I spoke about my research very briefly, very, very briefly, relevant to the point, that means relevant to the topic, or even if I spoke about somebody else's research, like for example, Dr. Kirti Walia is alumnus of Bombay College of Pharmacy. And whenever I taught diffusion cells, I mentioned his name saying that Chian Walia cell, diffusion cell, was proposed, developed, and standardized by one of the past student of Bombay College of Pharmacy. That actually would create so much of interest in students. They would feel so much inspired and the attentiveness would multiply exponentially. Promotion of research, of course, helps in evolving knowledge reservoir. But there are constraints and challenges. And the first one is quality and quantity of research. And we know that if there are any mandatory numbers, because the second one I have put is not having mandatory goals in research. And if you have those mandatory numbers like 5 publications, 2 grants, then we have to keep in mind that the quality is not compromised when we are focusing on those numbers. It becomes our responsibility that the content of research is always kept good. Also, one of the constraint or challenge is the policy framework. And here we have how much time is assigned by institute or by controlling bodies for research. Are there any rewards for doing better quality research? Or whether institute has a policy for supporting patents if anybody really comes up with a novel idea. So these are also constraints when you are doing, when you're working hard in this area. And of course, lack of adequate infrastructure, funds, faculty crunch. Now there is no substitute for faculty crunch because this cannot be substituted, but some of these could be complemented by collaborations. And I felt that because of the depth and dimensions in which the studies are approached or can be approached, the need or the collaboration is need of the hour. It is becoming greater than ever. So in earlier times, we could do research with whatever we had in-house in the setting or in just neighboring institutes. But slowly as you expand and you want to approach more depth or add more dimensions, I think you have to look for collaboration. And the most successful collaborations are often with those individuals where expertise are complementary and not really overlapping. To give you an example, when we collaborated with University of Vienna in Germany, we had the part of designing a specific vesicular product, a novel way, whereas they had, and we were doing it for application purpose on skin. They had a facility of cryo-TEM, which helped us a lot in many of our projects. They also had a facility of getting healthy human skin for experimentation, which is very difficult. And they also had protocol and facility for tape stripping of skin, whereby we could track the quantities of drug in different layers in skin. So the complementary efforts really worked like wonder in our project, which was funded by BMBF, a German authority. Collaborations can also give you novel skills, novel theories. It is an enriching experience to have some new angles to your studies. And it is always good to have meetings with collaborators, a discussion with collaborators, sharing experience, which all is part of academic and scientific accomplishment. Collaborations help to facilitate all this. If I have to speak about my collaborations, though here it is written as a Department of Pharmaceutics, which had many more collaborations, I'm only talking about my group. We had internal collaborations, that is within institute. My group collaborated with Dr. Coutinho and his group for molecular dynamics. We also collaborated with Dr. Jagtap and her group for in vivo studies. These were within institute. We had external national collaborations. With ACRED, we had collaboration for many small short-term and long-term projects. We actually did a lot of our studies in tumor-bearing mice, in cellular area like cell uptake studies. cytotoxicity studies, transfection studies in case of genes and siRNA, all in Actree. In IICT, this is Hyderabad, we also had our studies in another funded project. In KEM, the studies were mainly on human volunteers. These were studies which were part of our academic programs and also industry sponsored. In external international collaborations, we had collaboration which I just spoke about, Jena University with Professor Alfred Farr, which was on novel vesicular systems. We had with University of Helsinki, where a professor there supported because of funds from Academy of Finland in molecular simulations of liposomal systems. And a lot of things which we experimentally found could also be supported by those simulations, which was a great addition. This is also an example of complementary expertise. Sometimes we had these collaborations simply for very small studies and making a publication. So from a University of Porto in Portugal, a renowned researcher actually did cell permeation studies for us, but the project was mainly for, it was funded by us, ourselves on each side, and it was mainly for the purpose of publication. With Goethe University, with Professor Dressman, also we had a small project where objective was publication. So there are different objectives, but it is possible to collaborate in order to have more dimensions, more depth to the added to the work. This is one of our project which was funded by CSIR. This was like 5 years plan, and I'm just showing it as mapping of that project. This project was 5-year plan project from 2012 to 2017, and there were 6 CSIR labs which were part of the project. The coordinator was IICT at Hyderabad, and there were 3 non-CSIR labs. And KEM, which was doing actually in vivo work for the project, had also included us as part of the group for drug delivery systems, because the project was on advanced drug delivery systems, and we could do our work on hepatic targeting of anti-cancer agents and anti-malarial agents as a part of this project. And we could have a very good collaboration with particularly CDRI. And so in context of collaboration, I want to say that we collaborated with so many institutes nationally and internationally. Most of the time, I would say, the collaboration was initiated by us, means we identified the collaborator. Then we scheduled a meeting with collaborator. Sometimes we decided that we will do a small piece of work, have a confidence on each side, and then conceive a full-blown project and apply for the grant. Then we applied for grants together and very successfully were able to complete the project. But every time, whenever we had meeting with collaborators, the first meeting, we have always presented what are our capabilities. Some of our projects were also initiated, if they are not many, but at least some of projects were initiated by students. Currently, we have a project which is going on with a Belgian industry, Belgian agency, government agency, there is one industry, there is Belgian agency, the Bombay College of Pharmacy, BS College of Pharmacy, and University of Strathclyde. And this project, to initiate, it was a student from my lab. Although we had to write many things, we had to prepare a proposal, we had to give ideas, but initiated, introduced by student of the lab. And I've seen that some of my projects or some of the industry sponsored projects were really initiated by students because they graduated from the lab, They knew what are the capabilities of the lab. They had trust in lab, so it is easier to convince them. They don't need to be convinced, but their superiors. And so it has been a really enriching experience to initiate collaborations and to complete the projects successfully. And now some quick points on writing a research proposal, because everybody, I feel, should try to write a research proposal and should try to gain funds for their own research. So who writes research proposal? Either a student for PhD application or academician and research who wants to make contribution to state of knowledge. And research proposals, you know that they should meet certain standards. I feel research proposal is a very useful document, because whenever I have thought about writing a proposal, I have defined the focus of the proposal. And then, because the proposals are generally for 2 to 3 years, so you narrow it down to a manageable quantum of work, which is in conjunction with defined time frame. Okay? So as a researcher or academician, this proposal outlines my thinking about project. For our collaborators, this is indication that there is sufficient preparation. Funding agency, of course, has to evaluate whether it is feasible and whether it is worth funding. And for academic community, it is information like my focus of working is drug delivery systems, which are targeted liposomal systems, etc. You have seen that research proposals can be put for many agencies, funding agencies, any time in the year, but we have also put it in response to specific calls. Whichever way, when I submitted proposal, many others have submitted proposals, so I know that my proposal is entering a competition. And since it is entering a competition and it has to look better to acquire the funds, so therefore it has to be clear, well-structured, essentially to make an impact on whoever is reading it or reviewing it. If I'm writing a proposal, I'm investing maximum time and effort in the proposal. And if it goes not in the right direction, I am the person who's going to lose maximum. And therefore, I have always taken maximum care while framing the proposal, whether I have selected research area properly, whether the methods that I have selected and described are scientific, whether I will be able to draw valid conclusion. Very important part is whether I will be able to give enough time to develop the proposal. And usually in this context, I have always considered 4 to 8 weeks. Even when I had some ideas conceived earlier, they were at back of my mind. Even then it required something like 4 weeks time to really crystallize out a proper proposal. I have always given a thought what reviewers will think about the proposal. And I feel that if you do it that rigorously, and if you write that way, then it is easier to work also, because you have already decided upon a good direction, although everything cannot be predicted, and it's easier to write theses, write reports, etc. This is also one important point. As a researcher or academician, when I write a grant, I have to think whether do I have time to allot to this proposal, and can I finish the application before deadline? Can I finish the work in the specific time period? Is it achievable? If I'm only not convinced, then there is no point in writing it and taking a chance. So I have always considered. If I am satisfied with the proposal, I put it. We have put, I think, very few grant proposals, and most of the time we were successful. Now, since we also review sometimes proposals, we know what criteria are there, or even if you look into literature, you will find what criteria the reviewer is supposed to look into for judging. There will be about clarity, feasibility, but very important point would be, is there any new element or is it just a routine study? So I'm again taking example from pharmaceuticals part. Say if the proposal is for solid lipid nanoparticles, is it like you design some solid lipid nanoparticles containing another drug? Okay. Or are you using some new lipid? Are you looking at a role of some lipid in some other way than what is reported? I think that becomes very important, and how you argue with that actually brings the substance to your proposal. These are common components of the proposal, so I'm not going to go through it. And I don't have slides for all of them. Usually in my discussion, I used to have a case study, but I have decided not for this particular presentation. But I still have something to say about title. It's better not to have a title which is too long or too short. And the titles also should not be very routine, like design, optimization, and evaluation. I would also feel that important words of the work, try to put them first. If your focus is on drug with limited aqueous solubilities, you put that first and then the other part. If your focus is on, say, complex forming agents, how it is going to complex with the drugs, you put that in the beginning. So usually that matters. I would say that title should be clear and not necessarily decorative. Aims and objectives also should be defined well, and in the sense that I always would consider that the aims also should be measurable and not simply like to contribute to social health. To give you an example, if I say that our aim is to design say, polymer lipid hybrid nanoparticles for targeting drugs with intermediate log P value or intermediate lipophilicity. Okay, that is the aim. And the aim can be divided then with the help of objectives, which are directly linked with experiments and time frame. And if you do that, then your proposal runs very neatly into then the plan of work and the details. It's also an art to write introduction. It's possible to write introduction very well if you and student are reading a lot. It is like read, and read, so that you have a very good information about background. You can write introduction very well, because that is the way you can find the gap in the literature, and you can put forth your hypothesis to get over the gap which is there. So I'm not going to say much about the background, but just draw your attention to this part, that many a times doing a small study increases the chance of getting funds. And for one of our project, it's way back, maybe in 2008 or around that, we put a project to DBT, which was on, just now I said, polymer lipid hybrid particles. And it was a full-blown project for about 1 crore of fund. And the proposal was so good that the task force was very much impressed. But yet a member of task force said that this is very theoretical proposal at the moment. And they had not funded Bombay College of Pharmacy till then for a big project. So the task force felt that if we have to fund so much, then we would want a small study showing feasibility. So we came back, we did prepare the particles, small feasibility study, but we had some of the studies like cryo-TEM to show that hybrid particles are really formed, and we could establish that there was a polymer core and the lipid layers surrounding it, that in the next communication, I didn't have to go for presenting again, but in the next communication, it got approved. So many a times, if you have already done a small piece of work, you please include that in your proposal, which can really help and increase your chances of getting funded. Just again, the point that your proposal should show how it is extending previous work, how it is bridging the gap or overcoming the limitations of the approaches which are existing, and how unique it is that it does not follow the same routine path. And so you need to have a strong hypothesis which is specific and concise, and I'm not going to say anything more on these research proposals. Okay. So towards the end, what I'm saying is, as a teacher, even within teaching and within research, there are so many diverse responsibilities in addition to whatever administrative responsibilities that we may have. We need to balance them, or we need to make them more harmonious, in harmony. And I feel that it is doable because we are doing balancing between work and family. So within work, we can also balance this teaching and research. And I was just going through some literature on this. I found from comics. This is from comics, which was saying what departments want professors, how they should be spending their time. And the comics said that they should spend 175% of time on research, 20% teaching, and 20% in service, which altogether goes to 200% of time. You have to take it with humor. And also saying how professors would like to spend their time. The professors would say that, don't tell me what to do, and I would decide that. But this was part of humor. If you see, actually, I found an old survey and also a new article in 2020, both saying that how they actually spend their time. It's about 60% in teaching, 18%, you can consider close to 20% in research, and 20% in those service activities. And I feel these figures, exact figures, although they are from a survey of 1999, even today, or even when I was working in my initial years, say about first 10 to 15 years, I was spending about 60% of my time on teaching, 20% on research, and 20% on service for 6 months of the year when teaching is very active. And in next 6 months, of course, this was reduced and added for research. And in later period of time, of course, I started spending more time in research in later years and comparatively lesser in teaching, whereas the service time remained the same. But on an average, I will tell you that even if you look at the Western world, non-tenure track people, means for those who are mainly for teaching, and teaching is primary and research is secondary, they also spend around 60% of time in teaching, 10 to 30% in research, and 10 to 30% in service. Whereas tenure track people who have more focus on research, they would at least like to have 50 to 60% of their time on research, about 10% in service, and remaining in teaching. This is one observation which I found put forth by somebody who's been evaluating education, pharma education, saying that although tenure decisions, this tenure is tenure track people who keep research as focus, at primary research institutes are mostly based on publications and grants. More and more universities want faculty members who are also good teachers. So the more importance is given, or equal importance is given to teaching part of our service. And this is what I feel, because I did teaching and research both, and both as significant part of my work, and I enjoy it. So I felt that teaching always facilitates to put research in larger context to students, like I was describing, and which can be very inspiring. On an average, I feel that teaching takes 50% of time, unless there are some other provisions where you can reduce your teaching time. And therefore, to cover both aspects, teaching and research requires a lot of energy and commitment, and you need a lot of support, maybe also on home front, as well as at workplace, that you are supported by your team very well, which includes students, fellow colleagues, and support from office. If everything works, it becomes more harmonious. But when I feel that teaching is working and I'm putting something of my research into teaching, I could keep students more interested and excited about learning. And then it is very rewarding and satisfying. So although I feel that teaching is arduous and sometimes quite draining, but at times when research is not going on, it did provide me energy to counter those failures. So I have always valued teaching because I'm able to contribute something to the student's life, even if I can make a small difference. And also because it is also enriching experience for me. And finally, I'm showing you this picture. It is like the activity is quite stressful. You need a lot of preparation. I really don't know what is the destination to say that I did it. Of course, that the class was very good and I had satisfaction is what I have for that particular class, but I really do not know what would be the destination. But still, you look at the picture, I feel that it's very enjoyable and the beauty is unbeatable. So I have always enjoyed and satisfied to be a teacher and a researcher together. And with that, I thank you for both this invitation and for being patient listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a nice session and a lucid presentation. Because of this conference, we actually got the opportunity to meet such a nice personality and a teacher and researcher like you. You guided us regarding how to make a perfect blending of teaching and research, as well as you spoke about how to write the research article in detail and how to get the grants for our own research. So thank you, madam. Now I would like to felicitate you on behalf of Indira College of Pharmacy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, with your permission, I would like to move on to question answer session. First question from my side only. Ma'am, what can be done in order to make the students research oriented at undergraduate level only?
Well, what I have been doing after learning
Yes.
how to motivate students. This was not in my initial period of teaching. Initial period of teaching, it was more like I'm teaching that topic. But when I started teaching them later, I realized that if you really give them examples of how wonderful are these discoveries. A simple thing, like one I told you about Chian Walia cell, a side-by-side cell, which was done by somebody, and there I was relating, of course, to our alumni, to students. But another example I will give you, and this is again from pharmaceutics, because I speak from pharmaceutics area, is of remote loading of particles. So somebody who prepared doxyl product, the liposomes, thought about how you can consider lipophilicity, hydrophilicity, unionized, ionized species, and could transfer doxorubicin externally from the solution to inside of the liposomes. The method many a times students study, but they don't look at how people think about this. So if you actually give them such small examples, my example right now is coming from actually for master students, but even for undergraduate students, when we are teaching, small examples of small products, how people have really, how the idea strikes to them through experimental work sometimes, or it is theoretical idea, which is experimentally proven. I think it's quite interesting. For example, now if I say that when phospholipids are mixed with water, it makes a milky solution. I'm teaching final year and I teach them how liposomes are prepared. But if I tell them that when you mix them, it makes a milky solution, and how to understand what it is, then you need to do certain experiments. And how you would come to the conclusion that, yes, these are bilayer vesicles. That interests them more than telling them that these are methods of characterization of liposomes.
Apt. Correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from Rutuja Chaugule. For literature review, how many years old articles can we refer? Like previous 5 years articles, or how old?
We have been doing 10 years articles for review. If I'm applying, I take past 10 years, but it doesn't mean I cannot take the oldest article. If I'm talking about complexation, Higuchi's article is always one of the reference, although it is very, very earlier reference. If I'm talking about matrix system and the release kinetics, again, William Higuchi's article is part of that, even if it is not in 10 years. So, but other references are recent. And if you have, it's also in context of the problem, in context of problem, if you feel that 5 years is adequate because I have so many references in these 5 years, you can stop at that, because there's no rule as such. But I would say that 10 years gives you a better reading yourself.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. One more question from my side only. Ma'am, how to find out the perfect funding agency for our research proposal?
It's not very easy to answer this question, okay, because there used to be quite broad pointers for such selection earlier. For example, when we applied for CSIR, we actually looked at whether we have some sort of chemistry in our proposal. I'm from pharmaceutics, but still, if we were having small synthesis of ligands or something of complexation, which has some chemistry part, we considered that is better for CSIR. If it had something related to cellular work, markers, RNAs, DNAs, we actually put DBT on priority for these applications. When they were more on in vivo work, the focus is on in vivo work. It was ICMR, which was a agency we looked at. Whereas for UGC and DSK, I thought that they had very diverse coverage. But today, if you see and if you look at calls, I don't think there is so much of compartmentalization. And you can still try based on the call, the agencies.
Yes.
Yes.
There isn't a very a straightforward hard and fast rule that you apply to a specific agency for a specific purpose today.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions? Participants can unmute themselves and ask the questions.
Hello, ma'am. Very good afternoon to you. This is Madhur, and I'm too overwhelmed right now. You've been my guide, and you've been my role model. I'm so emotional right now, and you are my role model always.
So happy for the kind words, Madhur, that you are putting forth for me. And actually, I want to say that Madhur actually tried 3-4 times that I should come to the institute and speak.
Yes.
And I also very much wanted.
Yes.
I want to go in that way. I want to go to other institutes also, but specifically where my students are there, I feel more connected. But somehow it did not happen. And so this time, actually, this was not very convenient time for me, but I decided that it is online platform. I don't have to go also. So I must do it for Madhur.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
But
so much,
yes, we would love to have you over here in our campus one day, as per your convenience, of course.
I certainly do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent
very
session,
nice
and thank you so much for this one.
Thank you so much,
Nice
ma'am.
meeting all of you. Thank you.
Now I request all the participants to join sharp at 2 p.m. today.
Yeah. Sorry, Poonam.
Yes.
Poonam, ma'am. Yeah. Sorry, ma'am. I had lost the connection in between. But then I would definitely say I think you are the most appropriate person who talked on balancing research and academics, because I have always seen you during MPharm as well as my PhD. That balance never went off in your case. I mean, you were always a great teacher. You were always into teaching. And at the same time, you've been a great researcher. So I think you are the most appropriate person to talk on this topic, and you've done the best justice to it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And
Madam.
thanks for accepting our invitation. Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, ma'am, once again for sparing your valuable time and guiding us on such a nice topic. So I request all the participants to join at 2 p.m. sharp. The next session will be at 2 p.m. Thank you. Have a nice day.